Hey everyone. Well, this evening is the evening. I'm gonna try some epoxy granite. Um, so just a bit of background first. Epoxy granite is a mixture of epoxy and various particle sizes of granite. I'll say right off the bat, I'm not using granite for this first run. I'm using garnet. That's because we use garnet in our water jet cutter, and some of the garnet spilled out, I guess, and we don't want to run that through the water jet, and it's not really worth our time to clean it. So I've got sort of a McMaster car bag of garnet here that I guess would have got thrown out or something. So I'm just going to use that, see how it goes. I'm not using it because I think it's better or anything. I know that garnet is a lot harder than granite, so I would expect compressive strength to be higher, but in terms of impact strength or anything like that, it's hard to tell for brittle materials anyways, but I mean, we'll see how it goes. So my first project here is going to be some indicator bases. And I want to do that just because I sort of need one for filming. I want to see if I can get a nice vibration damped one, and it would be a nice sort of simple project to do. So what I'm going to do is start with these medicine containers. These are polypropylene, so the epoxy shouldn't stick very well to it. Little rule of thumb, if plastic has poly in the name, so like polypropylene or polyethylene, it's really hard to glue, typically. There are exceptions, of course, so the actual name for acrylic is polymethyl methacrylate, and that's hard to glue, but very easy to cement. So, I mean, there's still ways of bonding stuff together, but I'm anticipating that the epoxy granite is not going to stick to this. Next up, I got West System Epoxy. I chose this just because it's fairly ubiquitous. I mean, they sell it everywhere, and it's fairly high quality stuff. I do kind of want to try with the cheapo Amazon stuff. I may try that eventually because it seems like it's optimized for no bubbles because people use it for resin casting. So, and I've heard that bubbles are a big problem with epoxy granite. So yeah. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually prepare these guys for casting. So that's going to involve drilling a hole in the bottom, and I'm going to have a coupling nut in there that actually gets molded in, and that's actually going to be how the sort of indicator rod, I guess, screws into it. Yes, I'm the only guy in the world who doesn't have that DeWalt driver combo set thing. I'm going to do this off camera. Okay, so here's the hardware we're going to use. I'm just using some cheap hardware store stuff. I got some quarter 20 fasteners, stainless steel coupling nuts, and some plain old hex nuts and washers. The first thing I'm going to do with the hardware before I do anything is degrease it. So anytime you're bonding materials together, grease is really your enemy. Grease is it's a non-polar molecule, so it's quite hard to make things stick to it. So we're going to get rid of the grease by using isopropyl alcohol. Now, before I start degreasing these, I'm actually going to put gloves on. It doesn't do you very much good to degrease something and then touch it with your greasy hands and, I guess, functionally re-grease it. So I'm just using these rubber dish gloves. Alright, I'm going to use regular paper towel for this. If I was concerned about dust at all, I wouldn't use paper towel. I'd use Kim wipes or some sort of low dust wipe system, but I'm really not too worried because it's going to be encased in epoxy soon anyways. Alright, that's one. Alright, so there's those three degreased. I'm actually not going to worry about doing the screws because I don't want it to stick to the screws anyways. I'm actually anticipating having a bit of a hard time getting those out, but they will be coming out. That's all I'm going to say about that. Alright, so it's the first time I've actually used this resin. So first thing is to open it. Ooh, cut this out. This sounds like an off-camera job. Right, so there's the resin open. Now what I'm going to do, I got a kit from Lee Valley and it came with all the pumps and stuff, so I'm just going to put the resin pump in. Screw that on. There we go. This is the hardener, so I've already cut the lid, or I've already cut the steel out of this one ahead of time. Put that there. I've got this little stubby dispenser. So the good folks at West System made this fairly easy on us because they actually made the dispensing proportional or stoichiometric or whatever you want to call it. So 1 pump of the big guy plus 1 pump of the small guy is the perfect mixing ratio. We'll get this IPA out of the way. Now a word of safety. So epoxy actually irritates people's skin in different amounts. Some people really react to it, some people don't react to it. The big danger with epoxy is actually the fact that it's a sensitizer. So the more you're exposed to epoxy, the more it reacts with you. So do yourself a favor, wear gloves, don't start the cycle of sensitizing yourself to this, just in case you have a spill someday or whatever. Alright, so got a scale here. I know I need about half of this Precision Solo cup full of epoxy granite mixture, and I know that I'm mixing the garnet and the epoxy in a 5-to-1 ratio, so 5 parts granite to 1 part epoxy, and that's by weight. So I'm going to tear with this cup on. Alright, I'm going to make sure my garnet's nice and ready here. Nice and accessible. Garnet is not something you want to have getting all into your machines and stuff because it's such a good abrasive. So minimize the amount of time that that's open. Before I go any further, I'm going to put my little stacks together here. One of these is an extremely tight fit, the other two are just clearance fits. I'm going to let these set on top of Solo cups anyways because I really don't want to get epoxy all over the place. My experience with epoxy is fairly limited, but I have fond memories of getting it where it's not supposed to be. Alright. Okay, so I'm just threading this all together. I think the best thing to do is actually to tighten these up fairly solidly. So you can see there's sort of a 1/4 inch of female thread that's not taken up by the fastener here. And again, this is a fairly tight fit, so that's why it's threading out of the container. Okay, so tighten those up pretty good. What I've taken here is just a plain old socket head cap screw, and I'm going to thread this in as well. This isn't going to do anything structurally, all it is a standoff for the magnets. Man, you degrease fasteners, screwing them together is hard. Holy. Although again, it doesn't really matter. Okay, I'm going to try to get that sort of roughly straight, but this is just an experiment, so I'm not too worried. Alright, I'm going to do the other two and then I'll be back. Alright, we're back. So I've got all these guys assembled. I torqued the hell out of them so they're nice and tight. So that's exactly what we're looking for. Now, I'm going to start mixing this here. So you remember I did a tear on the container. So this guy does not have any non-volatile memory. Good to know. There we go. That's a tear. That's a paddling. Alright, so now when you put this on, that is only the weight of the garnet in there. Okay, so 625 grams. I've eyeballed. This is about the volume I want. Don't know what the f that is. Huh. Don't want that in there. Okay, so the pump needs 1 pump to prime, I guess. Okay, that's 1 full pump of that. Alright, Greg, don't be a hero. I'm going to cut the volume of this down a little bit. 494. Okay, so we're going to call that 500. So we're going for 100 grams of this then. 5 to 1. Still skeptical about that volume. I give second pump there. Okay, so that'll be 3 pumps. Right, and now I'm thinking 3 pumps of the hardener will bring it to 100. That's my bet, and I'm sticking with it. Alright, so what we're going to do now, get out a stir stick. If it seems like I have no idea what I'm doing, it's because I don't. Never done this before. But you know what? That makes for quality television. As soon as I get out a stir stick, I know I have to get out another cup. Because I know I'm going to need somewhere to put the wet stir stick. Alright, so this is the 206 hardener, so I should have a full hour of working time with this. So I'm going to do, what order should I do this in? Okay, I think I'm going to add the sand to the resin. God, I'm glad we didn't use this in the water jet cutter. This is a dirty garnet. Man, that's it's so fine that a lot of bubbles forming. It is all wetting though. It's all getting wet. This is what we're dealing with now. It's just I don't know, not much to see there. Okay, add a bunch more of that. Okay, we're starting to get really thick now. Note to self, get better stir sticks for this. Okay, we're pretty much saturating the liquid in this. So I'm going to add the rest of the garnet. I'm going to give it another squirt of this. Okay, so that is bringing us to 4 and 4. That's what we're aiming for. Yeah, I might need to get some kind of a metal dowel here. Alright, time for 4 pumps of this little guy. So 1 to prime, 2 to prime, 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, that's a lot less viscous. My poor stir stick is starting to crackle. I'm going to combine 3 of these and see if I can make them last longer. That's a bit better. So, making sure I'm scraping around the outside here, just like cooking with mommy, just to make sure everything gets combined. That's actually a decent consistency. That's kind of what I was expecting. Sort of like yeah. I mean, it drips off, but not, doesn't run off. Yeah. Okay. Calling that good. Alright. Okay, so I guess there's nothing left but to start spooning this in. Okay, so it is running a bit, which is good. I wanted this to be able to sort of settle itself. And it looks like it's doing that. piece of bamboo. Get it, get it. Nope, in there forever. That's fine. Come on, Greg, use your utensils properly. It's very tempting to hit the side of the container like that, but I'm going to try not to because I don't want epoxy splattering everywhere. Alright, so that's about flush with the bolt head. I'm going to do a little more. Scratch that, I'm going to do a lot more. Okay, so now that we're flush with the socket head, what I'm going to do is take these neodymium magnets, poke those in, cover those over. This is going to be messy. Looking at the mix though, it looks like I got pretty good coverage, which I'm fairly happy with. Okay, I'll take one of these. Well, Greg, don't touch epoxy. Man, that's beautiful. Beer can. Better. Much better. Gotta make sure I get it level in there. Well, maybe it's not better. Maybe it's not better. Okay, I had to take a little hunk out of it there. Alright, yeah, that's, man, that's like it was made for it. Okay, let's put that on, maybe on the wood. Alright, so it looks like I may have miscalculated a bit here with quantities, so I should probably only get one more out of this. That's alright, because I have one mold I'm not particularly happy with. Alright, so this is just for the love of the game. I got some pigment, black pigment, that'll make it look like black granite. Alright, so there's the black dyed stuff, and I'm going to put that in a beer can too. Just so if it drips somewhere safe. Alright, last one. But that's okay. See how this turns out. Maybe I'll use it for some sort of tensile testing or, you know, whatever. Actually, it's funny, that's just up to the top of the coupling nut. So yeah, maybe I'll use that for some kind of shear test. Heh. We'll have to see. Right, I'm gonna call that done. So we've got two that might work, one that's not full enough. A little bit better than I expected, actually. I was expecting knocking over the resin immediately and then setting the house on fire to hide my mistake. Okay. Alright, I'll see you guys when this is set up. Alright, we're back about 24 hours later. So this will have set, although apparently it won't reach its full hardness for, geez, I think it said another 24 hours. But we can certainly demold this now. So the first big, oh, there's a stack of magnets on there. So the first big test is going to be if it dripped through the bottom, which it doesn't look like it has. I'm going to grab this. Okay, all right, that was, that actually came out pretty easily, which leads me to believe that there wasn't a leak, which is nice. Okay, so just looking at the outside, it looks like we have some voids in there. but you can see that there. Yeah, so I got like a void there, for example. Yep, but I didn't have a shaker when I did this. I actually, in the 24 hours I was gone, made myself a 4-inch by 6-inch shaker table, which I'll go over at the end of the video, but obviously didn't get a chance to use. So because we have threads in here, what I'm going to do is screw this guy back in. Give this a whack. Don't whack with your pliers, Greg. Yeah, whack with a wrench. This is my Tag Mill Collet Change wrench, which I haven't been using since I haven't been using my Tag Mill, but give that a few wraps. Okay, so it looks like when we give that a few hits, see how it's turning lighter around here? I think that's because there's air getting in there. Probably from the back here. That'll change the refractive index. So, alright, that's pretty solid. Oh, look, okay. So, when I go around the perimeter and hit it, you see the air actually gets in, so I'm breaking the very weak bond between the mold and the epoxy. So, logic would denote that once this whole thing has air in it, it means it's no longer sealed, which means it should pop right out. Yeah, so I said these are going to be indicator stands, but there's nothing holding, nothing that's going to be holding the shaft vertical, so these are kind of a amateurish attempt. I guess if I was doing this for real, I'd probably machine probably a purpose-made mold for this, which I have an upcoming project I think you'll be very excited about. I know I am, so I'll allude to that at the end of this video. Seems to have worked. So you can see there's definitely voids in there. That's to be avoided, if you will. That's the... Let's call those extractor marks. Yeah. It's looks like I didn't mix the colorant very well. That's fine. So this still, it feels a little bit tacky. I wonder if that's why it was hesitant to come out. Yeah, it doesn't vibrate. So looks like the magnet's working. Not that it wouldn't. It just if I put it too deep or something. All right, so off camera, I went ahead and got the uncolored Epoxy Garnet, I guess, indicator base out. That looks, I feel like that looks better. It might just be because the colorant kind of shows the imperfections more. But I like this look. This looks great. Yeah. So yeah, I got some voids around the insert. That's not ideal, but I'm not too worried about it. It's not like it's going to see any load. This one feels a lot less tacky. I think this one's actually... Yeah, it doesn't feel tacky at all. I think this one's fully set, so... I wonder if adding colorant actually makes it set slower. Can't really think of a reason that would be. I would imagine adding fine powder to something makes it set faster because it makes the surface area so much larger. But, yeah. Alright, so that's pretty sweet. I am going to bring this into work and put a shaft on here, and yeah, so this magnet works too. And yeah, I'll try it out on one of the machines. I'm thinking of a way of flattening this out a bit, because that's obviously not going to do for an indicator stand. It's oh, actually, that doesn't rock it. Oh. Yeah. Anyways, so touch base with you then. All right. So what you're actually seeing here is a USB microscope view of the uncolored epoxy granite sample. What you're seeing here, you can see all the voids. Those are sort of extra shiny bits. And then you can sort of see the grain size relative to the amount of epoxy that's there. This is zoomed in a little more. You can see all that white material is actually epoxy. And of course you can see the garnet grains. I think what I'm taking away from this is that I should try to mix it with a little bit less epoxy in it. I aim for about 20% epoxy in this mix. I think I'm going to try to bring that down to 10 or 15. At the end of the day, though, you know, it was a fairly successful experiment. I sort of got to play around with it and see how it handled. I don't think I came up with a particularly usable indicator base, but, you know, at the very least, I sort of got the process in place. So I've got a few things I want to try from now on. And, you know, I might want to test some samples in the future, too, to see if I can get sort of an ideal vibration damping to, say, tensile strength ratio. I also want to try to maximize stiffness for a project I have coming up, which I'll get into in a different video. Anyways, thanks for watching. Hopefully you took something away from this. Cheers!